Hi, okay, so I'm gonna try a new format today. Um, this is something that I've been playing around with tarot cards because I got the idea actually from a game that my son has. It's called Story Cubes, and what you do, it's almost like runes. I was even thinking like some parent is gonna think that this game is like witchcraft because you roll the dice and with the little pictures that appear on the top of the dice, you have to fabricate a story. It's a fun game, you have to really think on your feet. And it's fun for the kids because it's easy for them to do too, and they're very imaginative and they come up with some pretty cool things. And it's funny to listen to a kid play. They're very literal. They take the pictures on the dice and they haven't quite gotten to that level of abstraction that adults can do. And it's something, and maybe not all adults would be as good at it, because someone like me who's really obsessed with stories and mythology and symbolism and stuff, that I've maybe got a little bit broader vocabulary to use. So anyway, story cubes, check it out, it's cool. And then so these things are basically like story cubes waiting to happen, because you have a whole deck full of characters that can be in your story. Um, and I've been struggling with my Book of Hours project lately because I got stuck on a story that I was supposed to find. I was actually looking for the birth story for the solstice, and I just kind of hit a wall, and I was so discouraged with it that I just didn't get anywhere. Well, it's not true. I've been working on this, which is kind of all part of it. Um, so I decided that rather than obsessing about this one story that I can't quite figure out what I want to do with it, that I would just move on and go to the next one. So I'm gonna have stories that circle the year, and each story has symbolism that has to do with that particular stage in the year. So the next holiday after the solstice is, the winter solstice is Imbolc. At least that's the Celtic name for the holiday. It's also known as Candlemas, and St. Bridget's Day. I haven't quite done all the research on the different cultural stories and traditions for this holiday, but I did know that this holiday was going to represent a young boy coming of age, setting out on an adventure, and becoming a more mature person as a result of this adventure. Of course, the boy can be a girl too. These characters are just placeholders for whoever. I found a really cool story. I hardly even need to change it. Like some of these fairy tales, I've been changing like small details so that they fit the cards better. And I may change a few, but for the most part, I'm gonna keep it pretty much intact. It's a Canadian folk tale from a Native American tribe. I don't know what tribe. I should find out because it's such a cool story. And so I really relate to some of the animals that they use in this story, like eagles. And the original story had a beaver in it, but I took the beaver out and I put turkeys in instead because we have turkeys even around here in the cities. In fact, I saw some of them today doing a little mating ritual. It was pretty cute, actually. I definitely did not want to get too close to the male turkey. Just like give him lots of space because he looked very threatening, very impressive, these male turkeys. Anyway, so we have turkeys. Yeah, eagles, turkeys, young boy. He Well, you know what? Before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm just gonna actually start the story. Um, and I've figured out cards for all the major themes in the story. I'm gonna do my best. I'm not very good at storytelling, and so this is more like practice for me to see how it goes, and just what the pacing's like, and how long it takes me to get through, and how much I actually want to interrupt and explain the cards versus just hold the card up and then just tell the story and then maybe come back and do the interpretations afterwards. I'm not quite sure. So I'm just going to play around with it. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. We'll just tell the story straight up. So once upon a time, there was a woman, an older woman, who lived by the sea, and her husband died in a fishing accident. He drowned, and she had a young son, who was very handy. He was very good at fishing. He could pull up fish just like as well as any man could. And here's her son right here. I'm gonna just read these out in case I need to use them again. And because it was just the two of them, they lived very well together, and he was a good provider for his mother. And there was an eagle flying over the land, and he saw the wealth and fertility and happiness of all the people, and he was mad because, oh, I'm sorry, actually this is reversed. This is important. This is King of Swords reversed. He was very upset that all of these people were living these happy, fruitful lives, and they didn't leave any food out for him. So he dusted up a great wind storm, and he blew down all of the crops and uprooted trees and just made a huge mess, and all the animals ran away. And as a result, there was a great famine in the land. So Empress reversed. There was a great famine in the land, no food to be had anyway. So the young boy, seeing that he needed to provide for his mother, he knew where there was a spot in the woods where a turkey lived, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna go get that turkey. So that's where both of these cards come in handy. So first of all, he comes from a very comfortable life. He has lots going for him here, but he's going to go out. He's taking initiative. He's going to go and find this turkey to provide for his mom and himself. And he goes out into the woods where he knows where it is, and he kills it. He was successful. And he slings it over his back, and he starts walking home. And as he's walking, the eagle is flying overhead, and he sees the boy with the turkey over his back, and he's just really pissed off because he's like, how dare you? I've taken things away from you because I'm upset with you, and you're trying to, buck the system. That's not going to work for me. And the eagle comes, and he sweeps the boy off his feet and carries him away to the eagle's home, which is actually tucked up on a cliff. It's on a high cliff, on a shelf, on a cliff. And the cliff is by the sea. It's actually very beautiful. You can see the water. You can see small people way out there on the beach. I'm getting ahead of myself. And the eagle says, I am going to feed my baby eagles, your turkey. And when the turkey's done, I'm going to feed them you too. And that is he's in a helpless state. He can't defend himself. Um, oh, and I actually forgot to say is when the boy was being carried away by the eagle, he tried to stab him with his knife, the one that he used to kill the turkey with, but the eagle's feathers were too thick. He couldn't get through them. So he's up there, and he can't just go up and stab the eagle with his knife, and so he's very helpless. And he goes to bed feeling very alone and vulnerable, but they're not going to eat him yet because they still have the turkey. Meanwhile, his mother is at home and waiting for him to get back. And it's been several days now, and she's really worried. And she's sitting, outside her home, and she's clearly in distress and crying. And the whole village has pitched in to help find the boy and bring him home. An old woman comes by and asks the mother, "Why are you crying?" And she says, "Oh, my son is lost. The village is looking for him, but I'm afraid he might be dead." And the old woman says, "Oh, there's no need to worry. All you have to do is connect to him with your thoughts and your memories and deliver him a message that he needs to hear." So while the boy is up on a cliff sleeping, he's visited by a vision of his mother who says, all you need to do is when the eagle goes away tomorrow, put your back up against the cliff wall and hold up your sword or your knife straight up. And when the eagle tries to fly down and attack you, that he will poke himself on your sword, on your knife, because you are not strong enough to pierce him, but he has the power to just impale himself on your knife. So he wakes up and he sees that the turkey is gone. There's not a morsel left, and he knows that he's going to be eaten soon. As expected, the eagle leaves and it comes back, and he actually follows his mother's advice and waits for him along the cliff wall, holding up his knife. And just as she predicted, as the eagle came, he impaled himself on the knife. And he made quick work of the little babies too. He killed them too. So he's up there on the cliff, and he's actually now all alone. At least the immediate threat is gone, but the next step is how the hell is he gonna get down from the cliff? And he actually goes to sleep. He thinks he's just utterly helpless again. And this one here. He feels like he has no strength. He's probably gonna starve to death up there on the rocks and the beach. Even though he can see people walking around out there, they're so far away, and the sound of the waves is so loud that he knows that they'll never hear him, no matter how loud he yells. So he goes to sleep, exhausted and tired, and he's just thinking about it. But of course, while he's sleeping, he's visited by his mother again. And sorry, it's actually the upright. This one's upright. He's visited by his mother again, and she says, "You foolish boy. All you need to do, just look at the eagle. He's dead now, and his wings are big enough to carry his body. Just make a skin out of his body and put it on, and you'll fly. You can use it to fly down off the cliff. So the next day, he follows his mother's advice and he makes a suit out of the eagle, and he is actually pretty scared at first. And for a while, actually, oh, sorry, this is actually the strength one upside down. He's pretty afraid, and but he knows he's just gonna go for it, and he jumps, takes a leap of faith. He jumps off the cliff with the suit on, and he very gently floats down and safely lands on the beach. And you know, the eagle took him a long ways away, but so it took him a little time, but he did get home safely. And his mother was just overjoyed to see him, and of course he earns a lot of status, and everybody's very impressed with his strength and bravery in dealing with the eagle. And he actually he kind of gets to his head a little bit, where he's maybe a little too arrogant and bragging about how awesome he is. And then the high priestess, the old woman, the one that advised his mother to speak to him in a dream, comes up to him and says, oh man, I wish, can I look this up? It was perfect the way she said it. I think I'll just read this last bit. It'll take me a little bit to get to it though. Hang on. The boy began to boast of his adventure and told how he killed the great eagle and that he had dropped down unscathed from the cliff, and he spoke of himself with great pride, of his strength and shrewdness. But the old woman, who was still present with his mother, said, "Oh, vain boy, do not think so highly of yourself. Your strength is nothing. Your shrewdness is nothing. It was not these things that saved you, but it was the strength of our thoughts. These alone endure and succeed when all else fails. I have taught you the uselessness of all material things, which in the end are but ashes or dust. Our thoughts alone can help us in the end, for they alone are eternal." And the boy listened and wondered at what the old woman had said, but he boasted of his strength no more. So I love this story. It's so great, and these cards fit really well. The Queen of Cups is, of course, a very emotional and intuitive person. She can be a little bit not overbearing, but afraid to take risks, and she didn't want her son to go at first, but she did relent and she let him go. And the Queen of Wands is very, did I already say that she's intuitive, like in touch with her inner self? And so that's how her and her son can have this conduit, this communication conduit open between them with their thoughts, and she can visit him in her dreams. So she has like psychic abilities. The Fool, of course, this one was the first card I selected because I knew this was going to be the card for Imbolc, about a young man setting out on an adventure. And it's pretty obvious how amazing this card fits with this, because he's leaving his home with hardly anything. He's got the sword, his knife, and you've got the cliff in this picture, which is where he ends up, and he has to fight to get down from there. The King of Swords is, of course, the eagle, which I thought is extremely fitting, because the sword is the element of air, which the eagle is too. And I looked at the other kings, and This one is dominating, a tyrant. He can be manipulative and a bully, and that's what this eagle is. The Empress reversed, of course, when it's upright, we're talking, beautiful gardens and flowers and lots of fertility and health. But when it's in reverse, we're talking oppression and lack of growth, which, that's the state that the earth was in at that time. And Ace of Pentacles, I picked this one because it represents him leaving the comfort of home and taking a risk. But he also, like the gardens here represent that he has lots of wealth already. He's got a good ground, a good foundation, but he is on the start of his journey, and I have to find a way to differentiate these two because they're actually very similar. I believe, let me just take a look here. I'm pretty sure I wrote them down as two separate things. Yeah, okay, the Ace of Coins is actually a representation of the happy home that he lived in with his mother. And the Two of Staffs is him taking initiative, taking a risk, and going out and trying to solve a problem. And this one was pretty obvious because this literally represents air travel. So he's flying through the air with the eagle, but it's also just kind of like a sudden, unexpected event happening, which is him being kidnapped by the eagle. And the Eight of Swords. Oh, I forgot. This actually has a reversal. So the Eight of Swords starts out as him being totally helpless and at the mercy of the eagle. And I'll get to the reversal in a second. Let's see, I'm going to put that here. And then this is a Six of Coins, which if you see here, the people down here are, they're probably poor or they're beggars, which in this case, I don't think that the boy's mother is necessarily a beggar or anything, but she is receiving community support in the effort to find her son. So that's what that one is. Moon, of course, represents the dreams that he had, where the mother shows up in a vision twice and provides him with the information that he needs to get through this situation. So it's the intuitive self. And this one, when it's reversed, represents a recovery from being helpless or having the strength to claw your way out of this situation, which he does by killing the eagle. And then he receives a second vision from his mother to cut the skin off the eagle and wear it as a suit. And that's a transformation, like turning into a butterfly. And he flies off the cliff. But of course, before he does that, he's really scared to even do it because this is strength. He's feeling like self-doubt, like he can't do it. But he does do it. He gets off the cliff. And then this one here is just a joyful reunion with family, celebration that he came home. And this one, the sun reversed, is arrogance, or just shining just a little too brightly that it annoys people. And I thought it was kind of interesting how this story has the sun and the moon both. So I think that's fitting because my tale is going to, just before this one, the winter solstice, the Empress will give birth to the sun and the moon. So I thought it was interesting that these two show up and fit so nicely in this story as characteristics of the Fool. And then, of course, this one's pretty obvious. The old woman is the High Priestess, and she was the High Priestess in Death's story too. She was Death's godmother who provided him with guidance and help when he needed it. And of course, the final card was her judgment of the boy's arrogance. She really put him in his place, and it was a defining moment in his boyhood because he realized that this is strength and quick thinking aren't everything. Material things aren't everything, but rather your thoughts and intellect and your community of people that can help you. So he became more mature at the end of his story. So that's very cool, and I love using these cards because they're like modular pictures that can be used with any of these stories, and eventually I'll probably record the other ones. I think that was a pretty good format, actually. Just tell the story with the cards and then come back and do the interpretations. So awesome. Cool. Thanks. Bye.